Hey, I'm here at the studio of The Good, bringing you another e-commerce focused learning moment. My name is Natalie. I'm Director of Conversion Rate Optimization Strategy here at The Good, and I oversee our client services team. We focus at The Good on conversion rate optimization, but my background and training is in design thinking and design research, so this topic today is really close to my heart. I love customer journey maps, and I'm going to go deep on customer journey mapping today. A customer journey map is a visual representation of what a customer experiences while interacting with your brand. So these journeys could map physical experiences like visiting a museum and navigating through the exhibits there. They could map digital experiences like ordering food from a takeout app. I've even mapped hybrid experiences like using an app to navigate through a new city using the bus or transit system. For the purposes of today, we're going to focus on e-commerce customer journey maps. So in this video, I'll cover what is an e-commerce customer journey map. I'll tell you why I love them, and I think they're a great tool in the toolkit of any customer experience champion. I'll show some customer journey map examples, and then I'll break down the key components that I think every effective customer journey map needs, as well as how to make one yourself. Okay, so what is a customer journey map? An e-commerce customer journey map is a visual depiction of the steps that a customer goes through when purchasing your product. It typically includes a few key phases that happen before, during, and after purchase, and then the steps that users go through in each phase. So let's take an example of a new cyclist buying a water bottle online. The journey map might include discovery. It might start with that need finding phase. The person gets a new bicycle, realize they need something that travels well with this, needs something to enhance their new hobby. It might move on to a research phase, so understanding what size is compatible, defining other constraints like weight, how well it needs to seal. It might progress into a decision-making phase where they actually visit websites, decide between models, and purchase. There's also likely a post-purchase phase where they receive the confirmation emails, go through an unboxing, maybe leave a review, and integrate the product into that cycling routine. So you can see we're covering a lot of bases here. It doesn't just map the period of being on your website and clicking buy now. We're talking about before, during, and after your brand engagement and capturing it from the customer perspective. Why create a customer journey map? Why should you create one? I'm a huge advocate for customer journey mapping. I think they are an amazing tool for teams and product experience designers to stay really customer focused, really user centered. The whole point of journey mapping is to understand where we can alleviate frustrations of your customers and your site visitors. And I'm all about that. It makes our designs more inclusive, more enjoyable for the end user, and ultimately it breeds better design and better profits. And the numbers do support that. 72% of customers who have an okay experience say they are likely to buy again from that same brand. That goes up to 94% for customers who had a very good experience. But on the other side of this data, one thing that journey maps typically account for is user emotion. Understanding how your customers feel and what their objections are at each stage of your brand engagement, it just helps you craft more meaningful communications and experiences that meet customers in their headspace. And we get deep with these emotions. So back to the water bottle example, when we discuss the post-purchase experience, we might talk about how the customer feels more empowered to be more healthy. Maybe they feel faster on their bike, or they feel more high status because they've invested in themselves and have this high-end, super lightweight water bottle to show for it. Knowing how your customers feel in those moments before, during, and after engaging with your website will help you create products and user experiences as well as marketing materials that at every touch point are more meaningful to your users. Okay, let's look at an example that I think shows both a great breadth and depth of what a customer journey map can be. This example comes to us from Adaptive Path, and we'll link to it in the show notes in case you want to go deeper. The experience that they're mapping is Rail Europe, so at its heart, it's purchasing a ticket, it's purchasing a train ticket, and that's really the product. The end user of this map, it's not the customer, it's the person who's going to look at it. Someone who might be working on the e-commerce team, working to get rail tickets into the hands of potential travelers. That's who this end product or the map is going to be for. But the product that they're focused on is the ticket, and that's the product that the user perceives. What I love about this journey map is that it does such a great job of showing the before, during, and after moments where the consumer might not even be brand aware. They might consider their experience of looking for a ticket not even started or already over. On the left, we see that they've mapped the research and planning phase, and they've noted that a touch point might be a friend sharing their travel experience. We of course have things like the website, the customer support team, chat, but we also have things we don't control directly, like what shows up in Google search. Now, I think this is extremely relevant context. To me, if I'm going to make a website for this person who's got all this information coming in, knowing that the potential customer is getting travel tips from so many different sources might help me make a decision about what's going to match their mindset. My website might need to be authoritative in response. It might need to be validating for someone on the fence about travel at all. It might need to tease imagery to say, this is going to be a really beautiful, amazing journey, right? So in the middle of the journey map, we say they've outlined probably where we see the most brand engagement, and that's the booking, post-booking, and pre-travel phases. This is probably what most people think about when they think about optimization. They tend to think of those moments where the user is actually selecting and purchasing a product on your website. I love that they've included fulfillment, either via email or printing in this case, into this journey map, because that's still brand engagement. Someone could leave a bad review because their confirmation email went to a spam folder. So for Rail Europe, it might be extremely important that that customer feels like they're being serviced and that they're getting what they paid for at the time that they expected it to show up. Now, the designers of this journey mapped all the way to the post-travel experience, but take note that they've accounted for the thoughts and emotions of the customer during each phase. This is something that I just do not advise you to skip. This is really important to the customer journey map. And again, this is that context that keeps us customer aware and in the spirit of reducing friction along the customer journey. Final call out here is that they highlighted specific opportunities as a result of those friction points that they surface in the customer journey map. They are noting that, for instance, we have the opportunity to enable people to plan over time because decisions often are not made just in one visit to the website alone. They're noting that they might need to improve the paper ticket experience for wary travelers who are worried about when that ticket will arrive, right? Okay, let's get to what you're probably here to see, which is how to actually create the journey map. The truth is you actually need to do a little bit of pre-work, so let's talk about the pre-work that'll help you get ready for the workshop you're probably going to run with your team. The first step is defining your character and your situation. You don't need a fully fleshed out customer persona with all of the details about their entire life in order to make this work. You really just need to be able to describe your character with enough detail and persona-like characteristics to just give them a little bit of life. So say you have a character, Katie, and her situation is buying a yoga mat. You might say Katie is a working mom, her kids leave for school at 8 a.m., and she has only a half hour before she starts work. She's motivated to make the most of that time by creating an efficient home gym. That'll put you really in the seat of the customer or the user and help you think like them. Let's take a look at a real-life example of a customer journey map from a project management tool that we did. In this example, we use a persona based on a real-life customer. We already knew their story, so this was based on something really close to life. And we like to have this information handy whenever we're working. So if you're creating the map in person, I would add Katie's image and her info to the whiteboard that you're working on or the wall. If you're doing it in a workshop digitally, I would add this to wherever you're working. So whether that's FigJam or Miro, actually add it to that board to keep that character top of mind, as well as their situation. The next thing I would do is a sort of pre-work to the mapping exercise is define those phases. These might change or get a little more specific later, but you just need some rough boundaries. So you know that there's going to be something like research, decision-making or purchasing, and then post-purchase. Add these to the board where you work to give yourself some loose boundaries so that your team can stay organized while you actually create the work. Now we're getting to the actual mapping part. And this is where I usually bring in my experts. So that's customer service reps, designers, marketers. This is just a handful of people who are going to participate in crafting this journey. You can do it alone, but I believe in strength in numbers. So ideally, this is 3 to 6 people. I think that's a great kind of goal amount of people to have when you're creating your customer journey map. Your experts are going to work as a group, as partners, to define the steps in each phase. So for that yoga mat example, that working mom, her purchase journey might start with going back to the office. Maybe going back to work gives her that freed up space and that extra room in her house. So she's researching not just yoga mats, but all kinds of gym equipment. Ask your team to build out the journey from there. Give them a few places to start, maybe a couple of sticky notes on the wall. They're going to fill in the gaps from there with their expert knowledge, so lean on them for that. For every step the user goes through, give it a sticky. As you work, make sure you're keeping track of the questions, thoughts, and emotions of your users. I like to give these each their own row. These are key to staying user-focused, so don't skip that. At the bottom, we like to keep the pain points or opportunities in their own spot. These are the things that we vocalize as a result of the journey mapping exercise and that we're going to use to craft more meaningful experiences going forward. I like to add as touch points. These are all the places users are getting information. So that might mean internet searches, your blog, review sites. We map all of these because ultimately we might realize, hey, there's not a lot of crossover between unbranded traffic and repeat customers. So we need a top of funnel strategy for that. That information is going to be helpful later on. At the end, you're going to have a bunch of information. So it's at this point that we move on to the consolidation and cleanup. I'll share here the general template, and what this looks like at the end will depend on your process, of course, but the amount of phases you have, the amount of steps, all of the issues you encounter, this will make it really custom to you. But generally, at the end, it'll look something like this. I think the cleanup is best done by just 1 or 2 people in its own step. Turning these kinds of like chaotic sticky notes into a beautiful customer journey map is a specific kind of meditative joy for me. So I recommend picking someone who's going to love doing it. At this point, we're not really editing. We're just focused on consolidating, refining, and doing general cleanup. You've already done the hard work. So this is really just about the design. And finally, I recommend a vocal readout in front of the team who put this together. This is a final edit that's done aloud with others synchronously. Go over the work you just did with the team. Make sure you're in agreement with that final synthesis. I think this step is critical for buy-in, and it makes the end product a lot better, I promise. Once you've done that, you have a beautiful artifact showing just how customer-centric your team is. But I think the final step is to address those issues that came up or the opportunities that you found within the mapping exercise itself. As a problem solver myself, I like to pick a percentage and just say, okay, can I tackle 25% of these issues by X date? Or maybe it's 50% by the end of the year. The artifact you just created, that customer journey map, it should be a living, breathing document. So I recommend revisiting it every once in a while with a pair of fresh eyes. This process excites me to no end. So if you make a customer journey map based on the steps that we outlined here, please do share it with us on social at The Good or in the comments. I really can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And we're literally making the internet a better place. So good on you for doing the good work. That's all I have for you today. Get in touch with us. Check out the links in the video description. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more customer-centric insights. Thank you so much for watching.